Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Teacher's Diary. So today I'd like to talk a little more about students' experiences and but link it to the question of beyond the pandemic, more widely to the nature of our education itself. So I'd like to start with three quick anecdotes. The first is about, we've been interviewing students for our bachelor's programs. And one of the things, the students come from various backgrounds, and one of the things we like to ask them is to give us a topic that would speak to their strengths. So what would they like us to ask them questions about? And much to our surprise, the first time we did this, a majority of the students, I'd say close to 90% of the students, were not able to tell us a preference for a topic. They weren't able to tell us that what is it that they considered themselves best equipped to answer questions on. The second anecdote is at the postgraduate level. So in my courses, I like to encourage the students to do some self-evaluation before we carry out other university protocols around evaluation. So we discuss evaluation, we discuss the rubric, and I've encouraged the students to think about what the strengths and weaknesses of their own work are. And this typically starts with, initially there is disbelief because students are like, you're really asking us to evaluate our own work? And then it goes on to, but then this is so difficult. And I see that because students tend to be, at least some of the conscientious students, tend to be very hard on themselves when it comes to their own grading. They also find it very difficult to give respectful and constructive feedback to each other. And the common thing is, if I tell my friend that their work is not very good or it needs improvement, they'll feel bad. So here also there is a sort of a general difficulty with gauging their own strengths and weaknesses and being able to share the same with the others. Then comes the doctoral level students. Now, one of the things with a lot of doctoral students is they are working on very interesting projects. They start out with very interesting ideas, but very often they struggle to align their ideas with either how this fits into current conversation, why is it relevant, why is this important. For most doctoral students, their central pitch is, I think it's important. If you push them further, they will struggle to articulate why. Why is the work important? What is the contribution that you are making? My point across these three anecdotes, what we basically find is students who are unable to position themselves and their own work vis-a-vis a set of colleagues, vis-a-vis the discipline. So basically, students who are unable to reflect on what their own strengths and weaknesses are. Now, according to I read this in the Harvard Business Review, that apparently it is generally very difficult for people to identify what their strengths are and work to their strengths. Within the space of education, however, I think this is not just a matter of individual inability. So it's not that our students are basically incapable of working to their strengths. Somewhere, the education system is also largely turning them into passive recipients of information. There are a number of critiques of the Indian education system, and I don't have to repeat them. I mean, starting from something like Three Idiots, to more scholarly works, it is quite well known that there are issues. But I think it's important to recognize that there is a sort of a pervasive lack of self-awareness and lack of confidence in their own thoughts and actions across students at different levels, and arguably among the many professionals as well. But coming at this from the space of education, I think education can play a role in helping mediate that, but we'll come to that in a bit. Moving on to the second focus of what I wanted to talk about, which is a question of mental health. And this is not just because it's, Sushant Singh Rajput's recent suicide, but it is also well known that a lot of our students face a lot of mental health issues, and there is the extreme cases of suicides before exams. But before we get to that extreme case, there are many, many, many gray shades of levels of stress that students encounter. If I connect these two, that there is a pervasive lack of awareness and lack of confidence, a lack of self-reflection to this question of stress, I think there's a clear correlation. If students are unable to articulate what their own strengths and weaknesses are, there's a very good chance that they are also unable to grasp their own stress levels, and then by extension, they are also unable to seek help. So, one point I made in the last episode, which is that in seeking help is seen as a sign of weakness. But here, first and foremost, stress in the space of education, stress in the workspace is not something we talk about very often. It's not a common conversation. And if students are undergoing stress, they do internalize that as a personal weakness. Recent conversations with some of my more self-aware and empowered students who've noticed that their colleagues are stressed and have attempted to reach out to faculty members, we realize that as an institution, at one level, we have to normalize the conversation around stress, and we have to try and take some measures, to at least some first steps, because again, this is a complex problem and it's not going to get solved tomorrow. So there are two things. One is linked to the question of the nature of our education and the kind of student it produces. So teachers have to be facilitators, and I know fully well that this is a very easy thing to say, but it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to constantly be in the position of letting people explore, letting people ask questions, because any number of times, you have a student who keeps asking questions, or you have students who keep asking questions, and it's very tempting to say, "Oi, just shut up. This is what I'm saying. You better listen to me." It's very tempting to say that. But it is crucial that we allow students and encourage students, not just allow and encourage, we design our pedagogy to create self-directed learners. So it is not about passive information, but it is encouraging people to explore things. So the classroom, the studio, the laboratory becomes a setting that it becomes the conditions for learning rather than the space for the dissemination of knowledge. The second point is really as a first step, because mental health is a huge and complex issue. But again, I'd like to finish this then with an anecdote. So when I was studying at university just about 20 years ago, we had a series of mental health crises. And at that time, the university decided that we needed a counselor. And in what now, in retrospect, I think was a very clever move, the counselor was invited to offer an elective course on dealing with mental health. And predictably, not many people took this course. And the only people who took this course were those who, by lottery did not get any other course. I was one of them. And again, in hindsight, I think that's one of the best things I did at university, because the course really invited us to reflect and think on our own strengths and weaknesses, and not just think and sort of stew in your own head, but articulate it, share it with a group of people. It was very difficult to sort of talk about things that you were uncomfortable with, you had not sorted out in your own head, and to talk about it with a group of full strangers, the fear of being judged, the fear of being laughed at after class. But among the many very fantastic things that I ended up learning, this course was certainly one of the most memorable ones. And some of the lessons have transferred far beyond the professional space and led to a kind of emotional resilience, which I think wouldn't have happened had this course not been there. So sometimes I think it's also important to put some of these things as necessary things. So having a counselor at university, we have a counselor at CEPT, and we have encouraged students, colleagues, we ourselves have sort of reached out to these people in a way, as a way of saying, just like you have a fever, go to the doctor. So if you're feeling stressed, go speak to somebody. It is crucial that we begin to normalize these systems in an effort to move away from the stigma. Because at the end of the day, education is a broadly transformative experience. If we put out graduates who are professionally skilled but also emotionally resilient, I think we are going to be doing, in the long run, a far greater service to our students and to ourselves and to the world at large. Thank you very much.